Hello Habibti. Hello my friend, how are you doing? Today I'm going to be taking you through all the colours in Maltese, and what's interesting about the Maltese colours is that each of them actually have three different formats depending on whether it is describing a masculine, feminine or plural noun, and I'll explain a lot more about what I mean by that in a second. But first, let's just look at an example, as I think that will be the easiest way to explain it to you. And we begin with the colour white. Now, as I said, there are three different ways to say the word white in Maltese, particularly when using it as an adjective, which of course is a describing word. We have the masculine way here in the left column here. We have the feminine way in the middle column, and the plural way in the right column. And just so you know, there is no such thing as a masculine or feminine plural in Maltese. Plural is just plural. So it's masculine and then feminine and then plural. Now let me pronounce these for you. So we have abiat, abiat, abiat in the masculine category. We have baida, baida, baida in the feminine category, and we have boyot, boyot, boyot in the plural category. So by now you're probably itching to know which one of these three variants you should use, and the answer to that question is that it depends on whether the noun you are describing is either masculine, feminine or plural. As remember, we have genders in the Maltese language, which of course we do not have in the English language. So let me give you some examples. Notice how in English we'd say, this is a white horse, or this is a white car, or these books are white. Well, as I've just explained, in Maltese, there are three different ways to say the colour white, meaning that we actually say these three English sentences in the three following ways. We say, this is an abiat horse, because horse is a masculine noun in Maltese. We could also say, this is a baida car, because car is a feminine noun in Maltese. And lastly, we'd say, these books are boyot, because the word books is of course a plural noun. And just to remind you, these three words in red here, abiat, baida and boyot, are all the three different ways of saying the colour white in Maltese, as you can also see them in the table up here. Now, let me translate these sentences for you fully in Maltese, and just keep in mind that in Maltese, the adjective, which in this case is the colour white, comes after the noun. So, to say this is a white horse, we say Dan uziemel abiat. Okay? The word for white, which is abiat, comes after the noun for horse, which is the word here saying ziemel. Now, to say this is a white car, we say Dan iya karrozza baida. Once again, you can see that the adjective baida, meaning the colour white, comes after the noun karrozza, which is the word for car in Maltese. And we're using the feminine version of white, baida, because karrozza is a feminine noun. And lastly, to say the books are white, we say dawn il-kotba boyot. And just to clarify once more, we're using the plural version of white here, boyot, because kotba means books, which of course is a plural word. So I really hope that that has made at least a little bit of sense for you. And if not, it's okay, go easy on yourself. I'd just make a suggestion that you go back and watch the start of this video again, as I really believe that repetition with this is something that's really going to help you to understand. But yes, all in all, this does indeed mean that you have to learn 3 words for each of the colours in Maltese, especially if you want to be speaking it properly. But that doesn't mean that somebody, won't understand you if you get them mixed up. But of course, it won't be entirely grammatically correct. In saying that, let's move on to the next colour, which is the colour black. And remember, the same rule applies here, just as it did with the colour white, in the sense that the colour black has 3 different formats. It has the masculine, which is iswet, iswet, iswet. It has the feminine, which is seuda, seuda, seuda. And it has the plural format, which is suet, suet, suet. Okay, on to the next colour. Red. The masculine for the colour red is ahmar, ahmar, ahmar. The feminine is khamra, khamra, khamra. And the plural format is homor, homor, homor. Now, let me ask you a quick question. Why is it that you're trying to learn Maltese? Is it so that you can connect with your Maltese roots and your family? Or maybe because you're emigrating to Malta? Because I've done you an absolutely huge favour, completely free of course, where I've compiled 50 of the most popular Maltese words and phrases all into an ebook for you. But before I tell you more, let's look at how to say the colour green, which is akhdar, akhdar, akhdar for the masculine category, khadra, khadra, khadra for the feminine category, and khodor, khodor, khodor for the plural category. Now, that ebook I mentioned just a second ago will literally help you to understand 67% of Maltese conversations, because the words in it are extremely powerful and are used very frequently in the language. Therefore, I'd highly advise you to download your ebook for free right from the description below. Now, let's move on to the next colour, blue, which is ikhal, ikhal, ikhal. And then we have kakhla, 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 and kohol, kohol, kohol. Now, this is a very important note which I'm about to tell you. These 3 words, ikhal, kakhla, and kohol, aren't really used in the Maltese language anymore. I mean, locals will still definitely know what you mean when you say them. However, it is actually more of an old-fashioned thing to say these. And instead, nowadays, the Maltese just say one word for all 3 of them. And that word is blue. Yep, you heard that correctly. Blue. Which is, of course, very much like how we say it in English, only it is spelled without the E at the end of it. Not only that, but yeah, it does sound a little bit more like an oo as opposed to an oo. You know, it's blue. So yeah, you might be happy to hear all of this, as it makes for much easier learning to only need to learn one word. Personally though, I think it's a little bit sad because, I really like the old-fashioned words. But, that's just the way it is. It's very normal for languages to evolve over time. Anyway, on to the next colour, which is the colour yellow. And for this, we say isfar, isfar, isfar. For the masculine, we say safra, safra, safra. And sofor, sofor, sofor. And just for your information, all the colours that I've mentioned to you so far have actually been Arabic influenced, but from this point onwards, the colours actually become influenced more from the European languages, such as English or Italian. And actually there's even a Greek influence in there too. So let's take a look. We have gris, 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 grisa, 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 and greasy, greasy, greasy. And these all mean the colour grey. Now, I actually told a little lie at the beginning of this video, because from this point onwards, you'll be very pleased to know that the colours I'm about to teach you don't have a masculine, feminine and plural format, because instead they just have one format that covers all three stages, regardless of whether it is a masculine, feminine or plural noun. So let's take a look. For the colour brown, we have cannella, cannella, cannella. And that's for the masculine here, the feminine and the plural. So let's move on to the next colour. Oranjo, oranjo, oranjo for the colour orange. Rosa, 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 meaning pink. And viola, viola, viola for the colour purple. Now, if you'd like a way to further describe each colour you're talking about and mention whether the shade of it is light or dark, for example, dark blue or dark grey or light green or light pink, you can use one of the appropriate words on the screen in red here. So as you can see, we have char, chara and chari at the top here, and we have skor, skora and skori at the bottom here. And basically I will teach you what these mean in this video, but just for your information, I also teach you a lot more about the Maltese language. In fact, I teach the entirety of it in my online Maltese language course, which is open for enrolment right now, but with limited spots available, meaning you need to act fast by clicking on the link in the description below. Now, let's take a look at what these words on the screen all mean. Char, chara and chari at the top here mean light, and skor, skora and skori at the bottom here all mean dark. And hopefully you have already noticed that if you are describing a masculine noun, you'll use this column. If you're describing a feminine noun, you'll use this column. And of course, for a plural, you will use this column. But how do you use these words properly alongside a colour? Well, before I tell you, you just need to know that through the lessons that are taught in my Maltese language course, I was literally able to help people like Michael, who didn't even know how to introduce himself in Maltese, to literally being able to speak Maltese confidently in 11 days. And he did this all before his holiday to Gozo. So that means if you already have a little bit of proficiency in Maltese, you will most likely learn even faster than Michael did. I mean, just imagine confidently chatting with locals during your next trip to Valletta, or impressing your Maltese-speaking friends and family whilst you all sit down at dinner together eating some lovely hobs bizet. Wouldn't that feel amazing? And the best thing about all of this is that not only will you get the course, but also access to a private community with other students where you can all help each other to learn faster. Now, to access all of this juicy stuff, just go to the link in the description below. Now, let's take a look at how you can use these words on the screen here properly when using them alongside colours. And remember, these words are just the different variants of how to say light or dark, which allows you to further describe the shade of colour you are talking about. And what you need to know is that any of these words in red will go after we state the colour, which of course is the opposite way around to how we would do it in English. Okay, in English we would say dark red or light green, wouldn't we? Well, in Maltese we say it the opposite way around, so it actually becomes red dark or green light, which in Maltese sounds like this. Ahmar skor for dark red, or akhdar char for light green. And of course these examples I've just given you are specifically for describing a masculine noun, by the way, as ahmar is the masculine variant of the colour red, And skor, as you can see here, is the masculine variant of the word dark. Similarly, akhdar is the masculine variant of the colour green, as we learned a little bit of time ago. And char, as you can see here, is the masculine variant of the word light. Okay? Now, if you wanted to describe a feminine noun or a plural noun, you would have to ensure you use the appropriate variants. For example, the feminine version of dark red is khamra skóra, and the plural version is khodor skóri. I hope that makes sense, but if it doesn't, feel free to ask me a question in the comments and I will do my best to answer it for you. Now, there is one last thing I would like to teach you in this video, and that is the different ways of saying the word colour itself. As in Maltese, there are two different ways. One way is Arabic influenced, and the other is more European influenced. Now, let's see if you can guess which is which. Here is the first one. Color, color, color. And here is the second one. Leon, leon, leon. And to say the word colours, which is of course the plural version of the word colour, you can say either colori or luin. So that's colori, colori, or luin, luin. I really hope that you've learned something in this video. Grazie ħafna u narak dalwat.